maybe you should. No, I've got to get pizzas to that observatory over there. And so you get attacked by some like smoke monster, and you like the pizzas fall off, and you're like scrambling around. Like, oh no, somebody
Smoke
needs
monster.
the pepperoni.
So I'm swimming through 30-weight motor oil.
Why are these new additions to your game that your intention was to release this fall? What are you doing?
Their primary focus should be surviving litigation.
Someone take his phone. I'll do it. Just give me a key card and a red button that turns off Randy's Wi-Fi.
It pisses me off that they lump racing in with sports. Then you look at this, insert F-bomb, Mario Kart and Sonic Racing lumped in with F125.
An aimless rant. We were just angry.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
Everybody, we are live. It is episode 76 of the Hardcore Casual Broadcast. He is Jay of F1 Podcast fame. And I am Mason of
Barely today, but
Online
yes.
Infamy. And we are the conversation at the table behind you. Jay, we are in by the skin of our teeth. I didn't realize that our timer was done before we had to go live, and I didn't hit the toggle to record us individually, but this is probably not the week that I get back to editing. So we're just going to go. We're doing it live, and we're going to run with it. But yeah, as you said, it has been a brutal week.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you have joined us. I'm glad to be here as well for a day that is not going to be filled with the best news.
There's some good news in there, man. I mean, there's some I'm excited about. But obviously, you know, much like my background, I just feel like, either we're getting abducted by aliens and that the things that we're hearing aren't actually real and that they're is some type of simulacra. But unfortunately, they're not. So here we are.
Yes. Well, excuse me. Yeah, we've got a few things to talk about today. Like I said, we got some bad news, and I think today is going to be more conversation and opinion than breaking news or anything like that. I think we're just going to talk about. Obviously, we're going to talk about what's in the news, but it's not going to be like an in-depth analytical deep dive. I think it's just going to be more about angry opinions, more than anything else. And I know that just to reference some of the stuff that's in the title. We've got some Fallout news, which is very exciting. Although I think there's some cynical reasons behind it. We've got some Fallout news, news of a new Fallout game. We're going to talk blueprints. We're going to talk more so the news and reception around Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced than any impressions, because Jay and I have not gotten a chance to play it yet. Been very busy, but we will certainly talk about some of the media and the what seems to be the common opinion around it.
Yeah, man. I obviously I was straight from work to the screen you see before you. So I have not yet. It released at like 1:00 our time today, I think, or noon. So obviously I have not touched any of that stuff, but and we'll get to it when we talk about it. But yeah. So.
Yeah, and I also just want to make it very clear that Jay and I did not coordinate outfits. This happened by sheer happenstance. The red.
Yeah.
So just want to make that clear. But let's see. I guess we'll start with.
Oh, the way I'm feeling, I could just go full Burt Kreischer tonight.
Just take your shirt off. Yeah. Grab your beer and just go. Well, I guess we'll just kind of go into like the bulk of the big news, and that is the same news that's been for like the last few weeks, which has been bad Xbox. The studios, and we still don't know everything that's going on with all of them, but there were rumors about studios being shut down, and thankfully, so far, that hasn't really been the case. It's not been good news, but it's at least not the peak of what the bad news could be. We thought there would be situations where several studios were shut down. And in fact, what is going on so far is that we have some studios that are going back to being independent studios. We have one studio, at least, which is Ninja Theory, that's been sold to someone else. Although who the buyer is, we don't know. Could be Tencent or Krafton. Who knows? But
Let's hope
I
it's
hope
not
not.
Crafton.
Me too. I hope it's not that situation, but we don't know. But they've been sold. And then we also have Arcane Leon, where I guess due to French law, they have to like Xbox essentially has to negotiate with the government on what they're going to do with Arcane Leon. So I'm actually very glad to hear that they have these protections. However, I do fear that this is only prolonging the inevitable. You know,
Yeah.
like it gives people advanced warning that something is clearly afoot. But I mean, I what what's it gonna do? So we're really kind of it doesn't look good for Arcane Leon, and that of course also means we have no idea what happens to the Blade game for Marvel.
Yeah, and reading the news, I was glad to hear about the companies that were either able to go A, independent, or B, get bought by someone
Yeah,
else, even though I'm
Double
sure they're
Fine
going to
and
be,
Compulsion went independent.
yeah, and they'll be under a strong NDA until that gets completely cleared up as far as the
For sure.
ones that got bought by somebody else. But it was also crazy to hear. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't know it was going to happen, so it wasn't a shocker. But a lot of the bigger companies under the microwave, under the
But I
Microsoft
mean, yeah,
umbrella,
tomato.
microwave, Microsoft, six and anyway,
Six of one, seven of the other.
yeah. To hear that they're having to do basically pull themselves up from their bootstraps there and refocus and get centralized, or basically, given the option of either also suffering massive layoffs or tightening the belt, as it were. And there were good news stories that came out of that. Obviously, I felt we talked before the show about Bethesda, and just from what we've read, you can almost tell that Microsoft basically said, "Hey, these are the titles we need you to work on, and you need to farm out this other stuff," which led to a great story that you're going to bring up in a second. But it put them pretty much hard at work on what I'm guessing will be Elder Scrolls 6 in 2028. And we'll probably get 2 more Skyrim special editions before that.
Yeah.
But at the very least, we know that is now going to happen. But I'll let you get into the big one.
Yeah, I guess the as Jay mentioned, the big thing there whenever it comes to sort of going around to all these different studios, it kind of comes back to like what happened with Compulsion, where back whenever Uncle Phil was head of Xbox, and he basically told them, "Hey, you have you take all the time you need and you finish South of Midnight," and they took a lot of time to finish
Yeah, they
South of
did.
Midnight. And when South of Midnight released, it was A, not finished, and B, not great. So that was a lot of wasted time. It was a lot of wasted investment. And it didn't work out well. So Todd Howard has been quoted. I don't know the quote exactly. This is definitely paraphrasing, but he's mentioned before. He's like, "Hey, we are more. Bethesda is more than an Elder Scrolls button and a Fallout button." It would appear that Microsoft does not share that opinion.
Apparently.
Yeah, like Jay said, you read this news story and it's like you from between the lines, the real story just comes out from it that they basically went in there and they said, "Hey, you've been announcing Elder Scrolls 6 for the last like God only knows how many years. That's nowhere near being done. How about you go ahead and you push the Fallout button?" And so the good news is not that Bethesda is working on a new Fallout game, but that a new Fallout game is now going to be worked on by Obsidian. Now,
Yeah.
Obsidian is many people's favorite Fallout game of all time, New Vegas. That is the brainchild of Obsidian. And Obsidian has more recently been doing the what are they
Outer
called?
Worlds.
Outer Worlds games. And those have been fine. it's very, very signature Obsidian. The first
Yeah.
one was more of a proof of concept than it was a full game. I think I think that you could finish that thing in like 6 hours. It wasn't
Yeah.
exactly a sprawling, open world RPG experience. And then the second one was far larger, but I don't know, something about it felt that like the personality was there, but the
It felt
polish or something.
disconnected.
Yeah, something just wasn't quite
Yeah.
clicking. But now we have Obsidian, we have Fallout, and all of the senior leadership of Obsidian were people that were involved in Fallout New Vegas. So
Including
that
the
is
lead
certainly,
writer.
yes, so that is certainly cause for celebration.
Yeah. And, here's the thing, too. Even if they took the Outer Worlds 2 engine and put a coat of paint on it, they could
Oh, sure.
probably reuse a lot of those assets and get this game out the door. Because the idea, from what I read in the article, was that this would be the precursor to Fallout 5, an actual numbered entry. Although it's, if they're working on Elder Scrolls 6 over at Bethesda, I mean, we could be looking at probably 2030 at the earliest.
I mean, they've done at least 2 teaser trailers where all they did was say Elder Scrolls 6 with a
Yeah.
a title splash, and I mean, and it's been years and years.
Yeah.
So we're a ways off. And you mentioning retooling the engine that they use for Outer Worlds, I would love that. What do they call their engine? Not Outer Worlds, but Bethesda and their Fallout engine.
The creation
engine. Yeah. It's a bit long in the tooth, man. It
is.
has been showing its age for a long time.
And the sad thing is, the reason they don't get rid of it is because of its only strength, which is its ability to render every asset on screen as a separate asset, which is why you're able to pick up a tasty cinnamon roll in Skyrim or a honey bun or whatever
on
they're
every
called.
table.
And every spoon on every table. You can't do that with Unreal 5. You have to basically create separate code to run in front of it to do it. But it is long in the tooth. It's got problems. But another thing it does very well, then this was why Elder Scrolls and Fallout were able to get by with so much, performance uplift and not show real performance hits, is because as soon as you turn and face something, it basically deleted everything behind you. So, it was able to render in real time, which made it cool too. But again, like you said, it is long in the tooth at this point. Starfield got a bumped up version of it, and some of the modders in Starfield, a lot of them in different things that they're working on with the modding community, they've been able to improve upon it, but they're still locked into the creation engine. So, this year we've seen, Crimson Desert did their own proprietary engine that works great. We've seen the Anvil engine in a few things, and it looks fantastic. So, and then of course UE5 is UE5, and it's got its own problems, but it's still the king.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to stick with the creation engine, and obviously these guys have a history with working with it, but the last time they did that again was New Vegas. Things have changed. That's several generations ago. I would love to have them do something. But if I was them, and I know again that they've got experience. If I was to try to call somebody up to squeeze every drop of blood out of this stone, I'd be hitting up your boy Deity and being like, "Hey, man, you write a few zeros down on this cocktail napkin, and you'd let us know, and we'll bring you in, because that dude is squeezing blood from the stone. I know I won't count this against you. I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing up Genesis this time, but he has been able to, I mean, get so much more mileage out of that than Bethesda, which is crazy to me. This is one dude, and he's able to do this. So, I mean, just from what you have shown me of Genesis, I know that engine is more capable, or is capable of more than what Bethesda themselves has been getting from it.
It makes me wonder if it's a cost benefit analysis that they do, because I want to tell you something that's funny. So when I run vanilla Starfield, I can run it at like max settings at like 130 frames per second, right? And that's using like 70% of my GPU. And then I go over to Genesis and it drops to between 91 and 102, which is still great FPS. But my GPU usage is up to 90 some percent. So, and it fluctuates between 95 and 97. So it's pushing the bounds of that creation engine to the absolute limit. I can only imagine what somebody with like a SpaceX level of PC it can do with Genesis. But to me, it looks I mean, you said it best. It looks so incredibly real. It looks so good. So, but yeah, it might be time to do something. I mean, I don't think they have the time, considering the financial situation we're in. I don't think they have the time to develop a new version of the creation engine. I don't think Microsoft will give them that time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if we were to read between the lines here, given all of the lack of success that they'd had, which unfortunately not a fault of these studios. They just told these studios, make what you want, just make stuff. And they did, and now they're getting the short end of the stick on it. But obviously, they are trying to leverage the IP that they have. The studios that are going independent, the studios that are being sold, they're taking their IP with them. Xbox isn't maintaining that that IP. So, they have to stick with what they have. And because of their inability to create new IP that captures gamers, they have Call of Duty, they have Halo, they've got Skyrim, or sorry, Elder Scrolls, and they've got Fallout. I mean, there might be Gears of War, but I mean, they don't have much. Their cup does not runneth over
Forza.
with options. Forza, yeah. But
so
they've only got so many options. So, anyways, yeah, looking at that, obviously they are saying, okay, this is one of our big sellers. We've got the Fallout TV show that's doing gangbusters. Let's go ahead and get another Fallout game. Let's capitalize this, because nobody really cares about Fallout 76. Even those that enjoy it, yeah, you can enjoy it, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same experience as a single player Fallout RPG. They want that again. And so, like you said, given the insistence on, hey, we need a Fallout game, or the perceived insistence, I have to assume, on we need a Fallout game. Yeah, you got to imagine they are not going to be grace, give them a lot of grace whenever it comes to the development cycle. I imagine they are truncating that as much as possible.
Yeah, and I also imagine that when needed, Bethesda will probably be like, yeah, here, you can borrow a couple of guys to work on, people that have worked on Fallout within Bethesda, and, here you go, Obsidian. You can use them for, next 2 months to lock in assets or whatever you need. Because I don't think there's any way around us seeing some carryover in processing game mechanics from Fallout 76 to whatever it is that Obsidian comes out with, whatever they develop. So, yeah, I think that's what we'll see.
So yeah, that's good, Xbox, in that, hey, we're getting something that we wanted. But I mean, which obviously means, if it's good, Xbox, we are probably days, if not hours, away from our next bad Xbox move.
So I've got one that's potentially
yeah, it's simultaneous, actually. Yeah,
you actually kind of barely alluded to it when you brought up Activision and Call of Duty. So, and folks, okay, I want to be clear real quick where I am on monetization and microtransactions. First off, it's the way of things. It's the mark of the beast. Call it whatever you want. And I'll tell you this, if it's good DLC, I'll buy it. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is predatory monetization, which I'm going to get into later. But this next story, I think, should scare people. If you are a huge fan of Halo, if you are a huge fan of Halo and you find yourself at work arguing Halo versus Call of Duty, then stop your debate. It's over. You don't need to do that anymore. You guys can be friends again because Halo has been moved under the Activision umbrella. And if you don't think that Call of Duty is going to win that fight, as far as does Halo get to remain just Halo, or is Halo just going to be Call of Duty with Halo skin? It's going to be Call of Duty with Halo skin, because
not to mention the DLC you'll be able to buy that'll be a Halo skin in Call of Duty,
in Call of Duty, and
eternity.
vice versa. Yeah. You'll be able to probably use Ghost in Halo. So all you guys want your little Ghost mask in Halo. Hopefully no Nicki Minaj, but who knows? But what should worry you is they're not going to recreate the wheel on monetization. So they can put Halo under the Call of Duty, architecture, and basically just mirror it in the menus. And I have a feeling you're going to be looking at the same 148,000 terabyte downloads and updates. And I don't know how much you know about the Call of Duty update situation, where a lot of people, they always have to uninstall the game completely and reinstall it because it won't finish an update.
I did not know about this. I don't play Call of Duty, so I'm out of the loop on that one.
I don't either, but like I've got a couple friends that are crazy about Call of Duty. I got a son that's crazy about Call of Duty, and it's funny, they all three tell the same story. Man, I had to reinstall it. I started to do the update, the patch, and it stopped midway and it wouldn't let me do anything. And so I just redid the whole thing. I'm like, dude, every time, you know how bad you're freaking fracturing your hard disk with no way to defrag it?
That is one thing that's always, not to get too far up, but that there's no option to defrag your console, like a hard drive.
There's so many junk sectors probably on everybody's PlayStation that it's not even, you're just losing space. It's the Office Space Superman 3. I'm just stealing fragments of a cent every day from 300,000 companies, and now I'm going to make millions. And that's the same thing that's happening to your PlayStation.
There's terabytes of junk just sitting on all these hard drives.
It's stealing just bytes at a time from 300,000 areas. And so, you end up with 30 gigabytes of you're never getting back. So anyway, I think it's a bad news story that Halo is getting moved. But there is a good Xbox story, and it's lumped off of the bad PlayStation story from last week, which Xbox has decided to stay physical with their discs.
For all of the vast Xbox players that remain out there.
Correct.
It's like, good on you, Xbox. Thanks for, your fraction of the player base.
Yeah. But still, I thought it was you might as well drop that story. If you're Xbox, what have you got to lose? It's like,
they're like, hey, we'll take any sort of, like, even the most minutely positive thing. Like,
I'm sure Asha Sharma was like, she probably just read the PlayStation story, leaned out of her office into the hallway. Hey, everybody, real quick, we're doing physical forever. So,
Did you see her this address to everybody where she was talking about how, like, the reason for all these layoffs and all this stuff that's going on?
Oh yeah.
Where she mentioned, like, oh, well, our Game Pass strategy and this and that, it didn't work the way that we expected it to. You could have just listened to everybody. Literally everybody was saying, this is not going to work. Why are you doing this? And granted, a lot of these decisions were made before Asha Sharma.
I was getting ready to say, that's fair.
But, it's like, this was apparently the Microsoft executives were the only people that could not see this coming, about how all of these steps that they were doing, this is an Xbox and all the Game Pass stuff that they were doing, they were the only ones that couldn't see that this was a bad idea.
Well, man, you get these guys, they get these, they're drinking the Kool-Aid, man. They're sitting so high at the table with their, bone shell business cards. It's my little Patrick Bateman drop for the night from Psycho. But they lose touch with reality, man. It just becomes, for lack of a better term, what we were just discussing, it becomes fragmented. And I don't think you see real people anymore. You're like, it's like, I work at Xbox. Yes, make the world Xbox. Everything is an Xbox. Keep doing Xbox. Let's do Xbox things for Xboxy stuff. And just thinking it's going to work if you just throw enough of it at the wall.
Well, I mean, everybody could have told them like, well, they're like, oh, your phone, this is an Xbox, and you're saying this is an Xbox.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That means nobody's going to give a shit about buying an actual Xbox.
Yeah. Well, look at, I always use this as an example. And I hope you don't own one of these before I tear into it, but the PlayStation Portal. Jesus
I
Christ,
do
dude.
own one of those actually.
Wow. Why? Not
Uh,
why do you own one? We can talk about that later. But why even come out with this?
It is a very hyper specific use case, and I have used it very, very little.
Yeah, and the backbone had come out like a year before that ran Xbox and PlayStation. Did it fine. You had to use your phone, but it was very compatible with a large list of phones. So PlayStation's like, hey, let's add an extra, I don't know, inch and a half on the screen and put a PS5 Joy Cons on either side of it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not. No, this looks stupid.
Yeah,
I thought the PS Vita was a better form factor
for sure.
than
For sure.
than the Portal.
Well, and you actually got to like it actually had the games on the Vita.
Yeah.
Like you actually had stuff
Yes.
on a memory. You weren't streaming from, your box at home or in another room. More
Yeah.
likely, it was not until later that you could even do it remotely, like in other places. Even until then, you'd had to stream it. You had to be in the same house. So yeah, the use case is very, very small. But anyways, I don't know. It just it really blew my mind how they acted as though this was a shock that all of these things that they had been doing would, not turn Xbox's fortunes around. Like nobody expected it to. Of course it wasn't going to.
Yeah. And it's the same. And if we talk about from a hardware standard, it's the same thing. Steam's going to see it this year too with the Steam machine.
Yeah.
We got our first case of Red Ring of Death on a Steam machine already. And they're not going to say it, but I guarantee, because the specific error that they got was GPU failure, and the GPU is soldered to the motherboard. So the whole unit has to be sent back for refurbishment.
I think I've seen this before.
And you know what happened? Somebody bought a Steam machine, they loaded up Cyberpunk and put it on max settings thinking that was going to work, and they blew that bitch up. Is what they did. They fried it. And then, because I guarantee you didn't get fried playing freaking Balatro or something. You tried to do more than it. You drank all the Kool-Aid, you read the hype on the box. You're like, shit, I'm going to play Black Ops 7 at freaking full ray tracing on DLSS 4.5. No, you're not. You're not doing any of that shit, dude. Just put it on low and go.
Yeah, as we've talked about many times, and that is the big advantage of a console, if there is one, is optimization. Is that those consoles are consistent. They have the same hardware. You don't have to worry about multiple GPUs and all of different RAM allotments and all this stuff. Everything is consistent. So while the performance is certainly going to be less than a gaming PC, it will at least be consistent. And whenever you have something like this, where the Steam machine, I think you've touched on something that's probably going to be an even bigger issue, in that they're trying to replicate the console form factor while still allowing you to play these computer games via their Steam launcher. And even if they have like this, I know they've got the custom like UI and all that stuff, but I mean, it's still a PC version of these games where you can crank those sliders, and this machine's not going to stop you from doing it. So yeah, as long as it gives you the option to, there's going to be people that are going to do it, and you're going to be able to brutalize that thing.
Yeah, and especially when you're talking about kids. They're going to go to school and they're going to talk to their buddy at lunch, and their buddies are like, man, I'm running, 130 frames per second at blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, I'm going to do that when I get home, because mine's only running like 30 right now. And then they get home, they, like you said, they put the sliders all the way to the right, and then boom, smoke, flame out of the back of this thing.
Well, I mean, especially like you said, like with kids, it's if they're just kids that are only familiar with consoles, they're not going to know. They're going to
Yeah.
be like, well, hey, this option is available. That means this machine can do it. And no,
Wow,
that's not
that
what
is-
it means.
that's PC 101 right there. Just because it's there. I mean, you're taking everything is at your like this is and I'm gonna do another callback to Genesis. This is one thing Deity does very well is he's even modded the options menus. When you go to an option, instead of it just telling you what it does that. And then he'll go, Genesis users should leave this off. And then he'll put don't put this above 2.74. Don't turn this on ever. And that's really cool. That's letting people know, listen, this is what I built it on. Don't mess with it. Just play. So I think that's cool. And the Steam machine doesn't have that. And it's really sad. They need to, like when you go to Steam's app, there'll be games that are listed as Steam Deck verified. And when you click on that, you can see other customers' settings for their Steam Deck for a game, so that if you buy a brand new Steam Deck, you're like, okay, this guy's playing, Death Stranding 2. And I'm allowed to turn my grass graphics up, but I've got to turn my shadows down and I've got to turn my volumetric lighting down according to this guy to get it to run smooth. They need to start doing that now for the Steam, and they should have got ahead of the game and already had profiles available.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how this goes, because we've already, it's already been a hard road ahead for the Steam machine, given the price that we're talking about, which, we've said it before.
We haven't even talked about that tonight.
They should have just like set it low, undershot the Xbox, the PlayStation, and because it's Valve. They can take the hit. They can take that loss. They should have just lowered it. Just that would have let them sweep the console market over the next couple of years. If you can play PC games to any capacity, and it's cheaper than a PlayStation and an Xbox, who's going to pass up that deal? Nobody, right?
Nobody.
Like you're going to take that deal every time. And instead they were just like, well, we got to make a profit. Like, no, you don't. You're Valve. Like they should have just taken the loss because they could have nuked the console competition, except for maybe
absolutely.
PlayStation.
Yeah, except for PlayStation. And the funny thing is, here we are, and we've talked about it now for 2 or 3 weeks, but we've got PlayStation with a bad news story. The whole, we're not doing physical anymore, which not really a bad news story for me. We've got Xbox doing all kinds of bullshit, right? And some of it's good, but very little of it is good.
And the stuff that is good is because of the bad stuff that's forcing it to happen.
Yeah, it's hey, we're throwing you a bone because we're bending you over on the other side of the coin. And then we've got Steam with this system that they've got out there trying to promote it as something. And for all intents and purposes, sales are going well. And people that like it. And that's great. But here we got 3 huge companies with completely different issues, and yet they are all interconnected by all the other bullshit that we got going on. And I think that's crazy, man, because they're not even the same type of story, and yet all 3 of them stay interconnected in this maelstrom of bullshit we've got going on. And it's just insane to me how that's working.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And connected to some of this stuff, I guess there were some things that did you want to talk some about the GTA 6 stuff, or do you want to not worry about that?
I'm good unless you want to bring it up, man.
No,
I don't really have it on my
good.
stuff.
I'm good.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about GTA 6. But I was just going to talk about. Let's just mention how that I think it's going to be the excuse for a lot of things. It's the excuse. It's going to be the excuse for $80 games for everybody that comes after it.
Yeah,
they're going to point to that and they're going to say, "Well, they did $80. We're $80 again." As we said before, I think this is a fool's errand, because you are setting yourself. Yeah, they're the first game to be $80, but that also means they set the benchmark. And if you don't meet that benchmark in the eyes of gamers, they're not going to see you as being worth $80, and it's not going to go well. But anyway, it's going to be used as excuse to be to make an $80 game. It's going to be the excuse to not do physical media. And
yeah.
Now that we we don't know exactly how it's going to work, but it definitely looks like some questionable microtransaction practices going on there. And I'm sure that there are going to be people that are going to mimic that and do even shittier microtransaction formats than what we've already had, like you were talking about with Call of Duty now, or sorry, Activision now taking over for Halo. And I
Yeah.
mean, we've seen all this stuff. We've seen microtransactions run. We talked about before the show, and we talked about it on the show weeks and weeks ago now. But the most recent WWE game, WWE 2K26. I mean, uh, it's just I've played every single entry since Ukes made it. It was called SmackDown. They were
Yes.
calling it SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain and all this stuff. I was playing those games from that moment, and this
I
is the
love
first
the Ukes
time.
games.
Yeah, and this is the first time I didn't buy the game because the microtransactions just turned me off. You bought the so the microtransaction, you had to, like, as we've always had, you buy packs, and these packs had wrestlers in it, new roster additions, which before was great. You could keep your roster current. So they would have you buy this pack, and that would allow you to play these wrestlers in the game. But now you bought the pack, and then that pack was not just a roster pack, it was a battle pass essentially. So you had to buy the pass, and then you had to do a battle pass. You had to do all these things to earn that. And if you didn't want to do these, of course, and you earn so negligible in-game currency by doing actual stuff.
Yeah, of course.
They want you to pay again. Whatever. It was just bad. And so, I mean, we're having that with all the other sports games. It's just whatever. I think as much as we're all looking forward to GTA 6, I do fear that it's going to be used as an excuse for a lot of really shitty business practices.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring up one a little bit later, but yeah, I'm not looking forward to that part of it at all. I mean, obviously I am I'm okay with the fact that we have microtransactions in our gaming life because it's not going away and it's something we got to get used to. But as I said before, it's when it gets predatory and when it gets irrelevant is when I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
So I know we neither one of us have got to play Black Flag Resynced, but just for shits and giggles and to say something stupid funny, I'd like everybody to know, if you haven't read this already, that AC Black Flag Resync's pre-orders have exceeded the amount of sales of Skull and Bones for all time. And that was
across
just
all
the
platforms,
pre-orders.
I assume.
And across all platforms. So just the pre-orders exceeded the entirety of Skull and Bones sales. Well, I don't think it's a real shocker though either.
No.
I mean, Skull and Bones was, and if you didn't believe us, we're trying to tell you that game is terrible. I mean, it's beyond terrible. But it sounds like, from what at least all the people that I trust when it comes to game reviews and, throwing out 20, 30 minutes of gameplay here and there and going, hey, this is what it looks like, this is what it does, is that for all intents and purposes, AC Black Flag is exactly what we wanted for the most part. So,
yeah, I have everything I've seen, like you said, people that I trust, that my interests align with, YouTubers that I watch, Skill Up, Luke Stevens, Mr. Matty Plays, all these people. It seems like it is what we had hoped for. I think the strongest criticism that I have seen, and this does not surprise me at all, is that we had talked before, I mean, way before, about incomplete content that had to be cut from the original game. So that's being restored and completed in this game, as well as some wholly new content, and that those are not great, that those don't meet the standard set by the rest of the story, which makes sense because it wasn't the same writer doing those missions. And granted, they're not huge parts of the game. They're character missions and stuff like that. So it's not that doesn't scare me away from it. I kind of expected that to be the case. They just said, like, hey, the dialogue is kind of stilted. The stories themselves that you're going on with these characters, for these missions, they're pretty basic. They're pretty standard revenge tales or something like that. There's not a lot of depth or character development in there, and I'm certainly okay with that. It's still additional content, and I am certainly happy to have it. But yeah, I'm excited to play it, and everything that I'm hearing so far now that it's actually out and people are playing the full real game, everything that I have heard has been very encouraging.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to it myself. And thought that was a good story because I hated Skull and Bones.
Yeah, I think we all did.
Yeah. So I don't have any other video gaming news other than to say that I have played EA's College Football 27. And this is a two-sided story. One thing we've already kind of hit on.
Didn't they stop making that for a while?
Yeah, that we didn't get it from 2014 until 2025.
Wow.
Because of NCAA things, and they didn't want people creating their own rosters with real players. And now that players can make money in college and transfer to a school anytime they want without losing a year of eligibility, they were like, yeah, screw it. So now you get the real players on there. They have to opt in, but they get paid if they opt in. So it's NIL money.
I mean, are there that many that are just like, no, I don't want the money?
You'd be surprised.
Okay, wow, I would be.
It's triple digits. But pretty sure I just deleted a talking point I wanted to get to later. But anyway, so the game itself, and I do this thing with EA games. I don't buy them every year. I buy them every other year because there's just no point.
And that's the way that it is for a lot of products, where especially with these yearly products, where it's like it's very incremental year to year. So if you space it out, that's whenever you get actual real improvements, or you can actually feel the improvements.
Yeah, and since the beginning of time, and the game is fantastic, man. It's smooth. It feels like football. The presentation, the Saturday presentation is great. Hold on just a second. I gotta. Whew, man,
Bless you, sir.
Sorry, allergies.
Oh, I get it. I've been hitting this cough button so much this episode.
And I went in the first night I went in to play it. I went to a bunch of different stadiums just for the intro to the game, because I know I've been to some of these stadiums and I know what it's supposed to look like. And dude, they did so well with the rivalry game, Army, Navy, Florida State, Florida, stuff like that. Notre Dame, Michigan, they got touchdown Jesus in the end zone. It looks great. They got Chief Osceola from Florida State riding out on the horse and putting the flaming spear on the 50-yard. I mean, it looks great. Feels like Saturday, afternoon football. Dynasty mode still looks the same, except when you get to the sliders. And used to, you can, of course, some people do this because they hate losing, would just roll their XP slider all the way out. Can't do that anymore. And I'd like to remind people, this is not a multiplayer mode. This is a single player offline mode that says that you will no longer, unless you play 50 seasons of this game, you will not be able to get a rating of 100, which is a perfect rating for a head coach or a player in Road to Glory mode.
And Road to Glory mode. You say 50 seasons, that's an actual number, not an exaggeration.
Right. I mean, you can sim 50.
That's a real number.
That's a real number, and it's an absurd number, because you need 160,000 XP, give or take, to max out a player or a coach. When you finish a whole season, you get 3,200 points XP. Gosh. Now, that being said, EA's like, hey, man, we got you. All you need to do is pay $99.99 of your real money above what you've already paid for the game, unless you're on Game Pass, of course. And we will let you, we'll let you have that extra point and give you that 100.
Good guy, EA.
In a single player offline mode, they have decided to start monetizing. And the worst part about this whole thing is they didn't tell anyone this feature was coming. They didn't let anybody know this was what was going to happen. They made it sound like it was coming out just like last year and the year before that. and it was going to be the same game. And then all of a sudden, oh, hey, wait, we're monetizing the single player Dynasty and Road to Glory mode. And, they've got a lot of content creators for EA that show for them and get paid to talk good about them and do that. And those guys are backing out in droves. The most popular one is a guy named Bordeaux, and he started a new hashtag, CFB, play, don't pay. And it's all over the place now. EA did respond like 2 days later and said, nope, did it because this is what we wanted to do. This is going to blow over. They literally used that terminology to their content creators, to which they all replied, no, the fuck it is not going to blow over, man.
Nope.
I mean, this is not going to blow over. You need to fix this. And of course, they referenced the Battlefront debacle where we had the loot boxes.
I still remember that.
And they rolled that bitch back. So,
after Disney. I mean, it's never been confirmed, but the rumor has been that Disney got on the phone
Disney
with
did
them.
it?
Yeah, Disney got on the phone and
that.
said that they had gotten a lot of complaints, and the rumor had been that like a very high up, like the top guy at Disney called and said,
Iger?
Yeah. And said, like, bring it down.
Yeah. And so, yeah, everybody, I mean, and Madden's not out yet. We're still waiting a week or two on Madden. And everybody they're like, they're going to do the same shit.
Do you remember the trend a couple of years ago? It seems like it slowed down now after a lot of very vocal, like, critics, like people, but they would do this thing where they would give critics or, influencers, whatever, advanced copies of games before it released. And so they would play these games, given the information that they had, score them highly because they were good games. And then in the day one patch, they would patch
out all that shit.
Or they would do all this predatory monetization stuff that was not in the preview versions of the games that they sent out that were supposed to be the full versions. So people would, that was the whole trend where people were like, hey, this, you'd see all these people like come out after a game release and like, hey, the monetization wasn't a thing whenever I played. I can't in good conscience recommend this. And it seems like they're doing that less now, but I mean, here they did it. So
they did it. Yeah. I mean, it was a certified kick to the ball bag probably for these content guys. And it, destroys their credibility.
Yeah.
Even if it's superficially, it still hits them right in the credibility, man. Because everybody assumes these guys are shilling for them already. And they've made they're like, yeah, I get paid by EA to preview these games, and this is what they sent me. And yeah, here they got kicked right in the pants, dude. So yeah, just a bad news story all the way around. But that was my last video game story that I actually had.
Well, I have one more video game thing, and that is I am late to the game, literally late to the party on Blue Prince. Now this sounds a lot like
that.
Yeah. This sounds a lot like Blueprints, and that's obviously the whole point of this thing, where it's meant to be a play on words. This was something that I had heard about last year, and it was on a bunch of lists for Game of the Year, and certainly Best Indie Game of the Year, and Best Puzzle Game of the Year, and all that stuff back whenever we did the Game Awards at the end of last year. And I would kind of see it in the store. Like I bought it on Switch too, and I would see it in the store for a while because I'd hear about it. And the screenshots that they shared just didn't look compelling, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. And I was like, whatever. But they had a sale, and it was at a price that was a few bucks. And so I was like, you know what?
Nice.
Why not? Let's just do it. So I grabbed it, and I fired that game up, and time just ceased to exist, man. It was like the water planet in Interstellar. Like I don't know what happened, dude. It was hours melted away, and
walk in the kitchen. Your son's like 50.
Yeah, right. I'm watching video messages of his baby shower and all this stuff. His wedding. So yeah, it was wild, but it is. I love puzzle games, and this is a phenomenal puzzle game. Now there's another game type that I appreciate but have never been good with, and that is roguelikes. I have never we've talked about it many times about how
Yeah.
like Hades, hey, that's a good roguelike and I can have fun with it for a while. And then at some point, I just get sick and tired of going back to the beginning and starting from scratch. And I just don't feel like I'm progressing. Well, wouldn't you know it, this is actually a roguelike puzzle game.
Wow, I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, but I didn't either. And had I known that, I probably wouldn't have bought it, which is why I'm glad I didn't know it, because it is the only roguelike in that sense that I have been able to enjoy. Because basically the whole game is that you are trying to access a a hidden treasure essentially that was left by your old relative has passed away. An old wealthy relative has passed away, and he was an eccentric guy, and so he had this crazy mansion with all these wild rooms that changed every day, and you've got to find his hidden treasure to get your inheritance. And the board that you have is 9 by 5. That is your play area. That is the blueprint of the house. So that's why it feels so easy. You don't feel like you're losing all this progress or whatever, like whenever you die in Hades and you go back. So each day everything resets. So it's just 9 by 5. And each square in that 9 by 5 is a room. You draft these rooms. These rooms each will have bonuses or secrets or things like
Okay.
that that will help you unravel the greater mystery. These can all link together, and since they're just rooms, some will be dead ends, some will be, oh, they'll turn a corner, some will have 4 doors, and you're trying to get to this very top spot and open a door. And it becomes this really, excuse me, it becomes this really addictive format where you like, because every time you go up to these squares you have to draw. You basically draw 3 random rooms and you have to choose between those 3 what room that's going to be. And sometimes you get fucked and you can't keep advancing upwards, and you got to restart the day or something. But I will say that it is so crazy the things that you will discover, because you will realize things the game doesn't tell you that you didn't think you could do. The sense of discovery as you realize where you can go, what you can do, the way that certain rooms work together, the way that you can influence your environment, it becomes a really just fascinating puzzle. And it's so much more than what it seems to be on the surface as well. um
Yeah.
there's the puzzle of trying to get this hidden treasure and find it, but then there's also a whole other narrative. Like there is a mystery within the mystery. Actually, there's several mysteries within the mysteries. There are hidden codes. There are stories that you can unravel based on notes that you find laying on desks or pinned to walls or tucked away in drawers, in books you read. There's in emails that you come across. There's so many things where you can learn about like the events surrounding this wealthy relative's death and all of these things. I really had no idea what to expect going in, and I'm glad that I didn't. And I wouldn't tell too much about it. I would hope that anybody that wanted to try it though, go in. And the things, whenever I would look at it, the screenshots they showed a very unimpressive looking character model, and you hardly ever see that. This is a first person game. um it
Oh, I didn't know that either.
it is a first person game. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, I can't say enough good things about it. Jay and I had talked before the show started about how sometimes like you have things going on in your life And I think pretty much any gamer has had this experience where there's just some game that you like latch onto for whatever reason. What it does
Yeah.
doesn't we may not even know all the reasons that certain games draw us in from time to time, but we're just going through stressful times, whether it's burnout or work or health or family or relationships, whatever it might be, where we're stressed, we're going through a hard time, we just latch onto something. And man, this game has been something that I could latch on in this season where I'm just burned out and I'm stressed with work stuff and all these other things that are going on. And it has been just incredibly refreshing in a time when I feel overwhelmed. And yeah, I could not recommend it more highly. You can probably pick this thing up for a few bucks somewhere, Steam or
It's on
whatever.
Game Pass.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's right. You'd mentioned that
Yeah.
whenever we were on the show. Yeah, Game Pass. If you got Game Pass, you jump in. Jump in.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I could not recommend it more highly. The last time I got sucked into a game like this, which I guess is actually kind of similar in a certain sense, in that it is kind of, you have to build this thing, but that was Alters, the Alters.
I was going to say the Alters.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. I could not recommend Blueprints more highly. Please do go out and play it if you have any interest at all in puzzle games or roguelikes. And I like I said, I don't have an interest in roguelikes, and this one drew me in because of the way it does puzzles and mysteries and all that stuff. So yeah, go get it. Go play it.
Yeah, I'll probably try to give it a go Saturday morning with my coffee and see what happens. But yeah. Well, man, are you ready to move on?
I am.
Okay, so next up, I have a tale of two companies. This is not in the video game world or the TV movie world. This is in the physical merch, collectibles, card games, role playing stuff.
Oh, I was
table
like, are we
stuff.
about to talk about bricks and minifigs?
No Legos. So that first company that I would like to bring up is Hasbro. Hasbro just had a year where they did not hit one quarterly economic target for profit.
Brutal.
And the other company is Wizards of the Coast, which owns the D&D Dungeons and Dragons franchise and the Magic the Gathering franchise. And they posted record profits for the year of something to the tune of $73 million extra than what they normally get. Here's the situation, though. Wizards of the Coast is owned by Hasbro. So we have a situation where the sub company earned more than the parent company. And the parent company, being the freaking baby back bitch that they are, got pissed. And Hasbro
So
is already going to have to...
instead of being happy and celebrating that you have a company in your portfolio that is overperforming, you get butthurt about it.
So this is how butthurt they got. Hasbro got notified by themselves that they would need to lay off at least 1,000 people, which turned out to be like 1,200 or 1,300 people.
I already fear that I see where this is going.
They got so pissy that they got outdone by their sub company. Guess where the majority of the layoffs came from?
From the people that didn't need to lay anybody off. From the people that are making money hand over fist.
One guy who has been a lead writer for Dungeons and Dragons for 20 years. See ya, dude. Bye. Lead card creator for Magic the Gathering. This is, I mean, we've had some bad game shit over the past couple weeks, but it doesn't get more chintzy or middle school playground bullshit than this right here.
Why? Okay. This is the like the biggest like high school lack of foresight thing that I can, because okay, you have this that is overperforming in your portfolio, which is something that, especially currently, you're not affected by the AI bullshit or the shortage on all these components. You have a physical like card game that is killing it.
Yeah.
And instead you are now like cutting them off at the knees so that like it makes no sense. You are impeding their ability to continue to outperform expectations. Like
Correct.
you are cutting off your nose to spite your face, as the old adage
Literally.
is.
Literally doing that. And what
Unreal.
piss what pisses me off is this week they launched the 2027 showcase for the card sets that are coming out for Magic. And not that everybody's happy about them, because one of them's My Little Pony, which is a Hasbro property, by the way. My Little
That one's not
Pony
overperforming.
Magic the Gathering set. The other one is also a little kitty franchise that I'm not aware of. But the third one is G.I. Joe versus the Transformers, a Magic the Gathering set, which is also Hasbro. Hasbro owns G.I. Joe and Transformers. And yes, I set this conversation so you can segue into the other one that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
But my point is this, man. Why do it that way instead of embracing that and just jumping down there like you own the place, because you do, and go, you guys are great. We love what Wizards of the Coast is doing. This is fantastic. We were, this is one of the reasons we sought to bring them on board under the Hasbro footprint. They are, they're playing lights out baseball right now and getting it done for us. Why not do that instead of, oh, hell no? I mean, this is the equivalent of a, oh, hell no type of deal.
We are 7 months, not even, not even a full 7 months into this year. And how many times, Jay, this year of the show have we had to, call upon the old story of the scorpion and the frog? Like, how many times?
1, 2.
I'm not
three,
gonna recount the whole tale, but this is
4.
another one of those things where it's like, you're both gonna die. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Like, why
Yeah.
why are you doing this? This is insane to me. I cannot fathom any rationale here. Like, I can understand somebody being upset for whatever reason,
Yeah.
but the fact that this made it all the way to the top and then came back down as a decree from the top, I have no words. I don't understand. I can't understand how this occurs.
So I was so sickened by this article when I read it, and I read it on Forbes, I think, that I stopped reading it about halfway through, because I was just, and then I thought, you know what? If Mason had such a good time with that crafting story loop we had going on, I'm definitely bringing this one up, because he'll carry this bitch out for the whole year. And I hope you take the time, because you will crawl into the tall grass on some stuff that I will not. And hopefully we hear about it more throughout the rest of this year. And I'll keep up with it as much as I can. But dude, what a bullshit story, man. And we all grew up loving Hasbro, because there was at least one franchise in our households, because that was back, sorry, Gen Z, that was back when we played with physical toys, action figures and stuff outside. And so, G.I. Joe and Transformers was a gigantic part of my life. Who owned Mask? Do you remember? Are you too young to remember Mask?
No, I remember like Mask as in the Mask, or Mask as in
Mask M.A.S.K.
Okay, yeah, that was the guy. They had one guy that had like a black bandana tied around his face, right? Wasn't he one of the guys? Yes. So yes, I do remember Mask.
Yeah, they were these tiny little figures, and you had the mask, and then it was really a helmet, not a mask, and like some type of vehicle. But some of those franchises, dude, were just, those were my childhoods. Like you talked about, even when you're a kid, you have times where you're stressed out or it feels overwhelming, and you crawl into a Saturday war with your brothers on G.I. Joe versus the Transformers. And you got all them toys out, and then mom comes home from work or whatever, and it's like, hey, clean these up for dinner type of deal. But that was our war that day. That was our episode. And to hear a story like this of Hasbro being this shit, plus I'm a huge fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a huge fan of Magic, and I don't know what this means going forward. So it's really kind of upsetting.
I have a question here. So we've seen other times where there was the giant that could not be toppled, couldn't be beat.
Yeah.
And then we've seen, whether it's a company, whether it's a game, whether it's
Yeah.
a TV show, whatever, and they get cocky or they make mistakes. And then all of a sudden, whenever creating a competitor used to seem like a fool's errand, well, all of a sudden, somebody, planets align just right, and now actually a competitor can survive. And this seems like it could be one of those things. Whereas before, like, we've seen so many people try to start their own trading card game or
Right.
tabletop RPG thing to compete with Dungeons and Dragons, or especially Magic the Gathering. And it just never really I mean, they'll have a little following, but it's not the thing. But now we've got this where you're losing a lot of your top talent, artists, things like that. You're losing a lot of the people that made it what it is.
Yeah.
And right now, all of these things are being gobbled up, and that you have to buy them on the secondary market from scalpers. It's a cost prohibitive hobby right now to take. So if you have this thing where you've got people that have this experience, this talent that help make it what it is, they're now available for work, and people are tired of paying scalpers to open a bag or a pack of 10 cards or something like that. I mean, that seems like a pretty good time to say, hey, we're taking these guys and we're going to make our own thing, and it's going to be the artists that you like. It's going to be the people that know how this works. And maybe you could make a competitor and have these packs that people could buy for,
absolutely,
not $200 a pack or whatever.
Yeah. Even at retail, some of these the packs and boxes have gotten ridiculous. So scalper prices are just astronomical right now. So, but anyway, it's a story I definitely want to follow throughout the year
I'm intrigued
and see how it pans out, because it makes me wonder if Wizards can't just say, we're making so much more money than you now, we'll just buy you.
Well, and you alluded to G.I. Joe and
I did.
Transformer. So
I did.
I will let you go into your story here, because I will say, as one little lead in to that, the Transformers, like you mentioned, like the Transformers franchise, like, went way up, and then it kind of just went down and has not been. They've tried to relaunch it to varying degrees of success. And the last Transformers movie they made, I don't even remember what it's called anymore, but that was the one where they had the animals, the what are they? I don't even know what they call those anymore. Where they can transform into like mechanical animals. They had those, and then it ended with a stinger where the guy was like, invited this person to join, and he's like, oh, it was very much the Shield thing in Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah.
And he hands them the card, and it said G.I. Joe. And so that was the whole thing, is that was leading to a G.I. Joe crossover with Transformers, but then that movie bombed. And so that's been kind of on ice. I don't know if it's been officially canceled, but then you told me about this story, and I am intrigued.
So Danny McBride, and if you don't know who Danny McBride is, then just get on HBO Max and find Eastbound and Down, or the
Righteous Gemstones,
Righteous Gemstones, or Tropic Thunder, or so many movies he's been in that were Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell. That was fantastic. He's known for comedy, and he's also known to be an actor, not a writer and director. But he has penned a script for a G.I. Joe movie, and he's not playing around. And before anybody starts laughing, if you hear this or haven't heard it already, this is not a comedy. This is not a parody movie. This is a serious G.I. Joe movie, because he takes G.I. Joe very seriously. I'm guessing he's probably about the same age I am. And to me, G.I. Joe was a very serious thing during those years, during my formative years. And he has turned this over for I don't know what they call it, review or screening or whatever you call it, the script, to be looked at and reviewed to see if it's something that they're going to do. But he very much has plans to get the ball rolling on this, which I'm absolutely delighted. I don't know, and he didn't mention it, whether his included Transformers or not. I think Marvel still has the absolute best 4-issue run G.I. Joe versus the Transformers is fantastic. It was back in like 80, 88, I think, 89. If you want to read that. But I think this is going to be a pure G.I. Joe movie. And I know that they think that I'm just going to call them the Channing Tatum G.I. Joes were supposed to be serious. But man, come on. They were campy as
especially after the first one. The first one was campy,
Yeah.
but then the second, it just
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was too much.
The fact that they brought Bruce Willis's actual, and that was a real character in the lore, the actual first G.I. Joe, Bruce Willis's character. And I did like it that they had Zartan and those guys, but it'll be, I'm excited to see what Danny McBride could possibly do with this script and see what it does. Because I imagine he'll have a lot of help as well.
Yeah.
If it's got gaps or holes in it. And, and he's never going to see this, but Danny, I wish you the best, dude. I hope it works out because I'd really like to see a solid, good title for this franchise.
As would I. And like, people may not know, I actually have a G.I. Joe tattoo on my inner bicep on my right arm is a cobra tattoo, the cobra symbol. And
that's not a G.I. Joe tattoo. If you can't tell, this is I'm anti-Cobra face.
Well, it makes sense. But I grew up with G.I. Joes. I love G.I. Joes. I loved playing with G.I. Joes when I was a kid. And of course, I would watch the show and everything. And, I've read a bunch of different comics for G.I. Joe, covering a bunch of different arcs from a bunch of different writers and a bunch of different, universes where they weren't all the same thing. And my favorite one, I don't remember what it was called anymore, but it was the favorite iteration I've ever read of G.I. Joe. And I would love given that Danny said it's very serious, I would love it if it kind of took inspiration from this. And that is that whenever they have their names, there are all these names where it's like Duke or Falcon or this or that. The reason that they had these names was because they were dead. They were, for all intents and purposes, all the paperwork, they were dead.
Yeah.
So they could not use their real names anymore because they were either, pulled out of a bad situation and just left to be assumed dead, or it was staged to do something to get this person into the program. And we've seen all kinds of stuff like that before. But so they're like, it's not just like, oh, this guy's named Chuckles because this guy's named Duke because, like, they had those call signs because you were no longer allowed to refer to them as their real names because that name is dead and you don't technically exist on paper anymore. You are doing things for your country, for the world, that no one can ever know about. And I loved that approach to some of the cheesier things about the lore and ground them in this very serious, gritty, I know it's an overused term, but story. I don't know. I love that. So I would love to see that approach taken to a G.I. Joe movie where, it's not, you hear that and it's not like, oh, you think about red lasers and blue lasers, which again, I love the red lasers and the blue lasers, but I would love to have where you hear G.I. Joe and you think SEALs or, CIA, you think about these kinds of operations.
Yeah.
I would love to see that kind of approach.
There was, so the comics were so much better than the cartoon. Obviously the cartoon was marketed to kids and the comic was a little bit darker. And still one of the best selling Marvel books of all time is G.I. Joe I think it's number 52, which was called Unmasked. And on the cover, it just had Cobra Commander, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow on a red background. Just plain, really awesome issue. But after they got to issue like 100 of G.I. Joe, they started a sub-series called G.I. Joe Special Missions. And these were like one-offs of these crazy black ops that they would do. And it was way more adulty than the original book, which is crazy because the original book, again, was a lot darker than the cartoon. But, if he expanded on those, that would be I don't know. I don't know how you screw that up. I really don't. There was a lot of good stuff there. But I want to sniper you real quick and go, who was your favorite GI Joe of all time?
I mean, well, so my
You can do a
favorite
top 3 if
well,
you'd
my
like.
favorite characters were
Jesus, he's
always
a cobra. Of
Cobras. So
course they were.
I
I,
loved Cobra Commander.
I
I
think about the
love
bridge incident, and I'm just like, yeah, it's going to be all cobras.
I love
Go ahead.
Destro. I love Destro. And on the GI Joe side, though, I always loved Roadblock.
Wow. Okay.
So those
So
would be my top 3: Cobra Commander, Destro, and Roadblock.
so as you could probably guess, my top 3, 2 of the 3 are GI Joes. One of them is a cobra, just because I thought it was a cool story. Technically,
Snake
he's
Eyes was
2
also great too.
cobras. 2 cobras. So my favorite GI Joe was a guy named Sci-Fi, because I mean, I just thought it was a cool setup. He had a really cool rifle. Um, his bio card had a great story on it. Um, and then my favorite Cobra were the twins, Tomax and Zamont. I thought that was a fantastic story for those two guys, and they were so evil, dude. They were just so evil. Uh, and then third is Snake Eyes. I love Snake Eyes. I love the whole lore behind Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow.
Yeah,
And my
that was
honorable
great.
mention will also go to a Cobra, which is Firefly. I loved Firefly, man. That whole get up with the mask and the tack vest with the loaded SMG mags.
I
Awesome.
also always loved whenever it was, whenever we're playing with the action figures when I was a kid, I would always love
Yeah.
accessories, And there was a guy, who was it that was clearly a ripoff of Crocodile Dundee? What was his name? The GI Joe?
Rakondo
Yes. So
had the rolled up
yes.
bush
So
hat.
he had a removable
Rakondo.
hat, and so I love that he
Yeah.
had a removable hat whenever I was a kid.
Yeah, and they had Sergeant Slaughter too, straight from the WWF.
Yeah, like legit.
which
Like, he was. I mean, he was the voice in the cartoon. Like,
Yeah.
he was Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, and they also had Refrigerator Perry from the Chicago Bears. So lineman for the Chicago Bears was a GI Joe. But there was a lot of crazy ones, and there were some cool ones. Man, Zartan was a cool action figure. He had the little backpack that had the masks that you could change out. My favorite Cobra Commander was the hooded one, not the silver faced one.
Yeah, the hood was always superior.
And then when they decided to go wheels off the truck at one point, and they basically supplanted
Serpentor?
Cobra Commander and Duke with Serpentor and Hawk, and that pissed me off. And I like Hawk, but still,
that I hated that whole thing, like Cobra Law and all of that stuff.
Yes.
And
God, you're making me feel old, man.
And Cobra Commander
Yeah.
was a part snake thing and all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
no, we don't need to be doing, like, we don't need to make them like aliens or something like mutants. Like, that's
It's
not
like
necessary.
V. Remember that show V, where they had
Yeah.
the reptilian skin?
Yeah,
under
like, we don't need to go that far. We don't need to make Cobra actually snakes. Like, that was too much. I hated that. And Serpentor, he looked so stupid with his like what looked like a bad Halloween costume of a
Oh
Cobra
my God.
with the whole headdress and the fangs. It was so bad. It was
And
so
the green
bad.
glitter cape that he had that came with it. Yeah,
It was
man,
so
it was
awful, dude. Yeah, that was where I was like, I can't. No, I could. Even as a kid, I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, yeah, man. And there were some good characters and figures that came out of that set, but like Low Light, the sniper with the black beanie and the red framed lenses, that was excellent. But still, Serpentor and Hawk just were not. They were not Duke and Cobra Commander. It's just plain and simple.
I think Hawk was voiced by Don Johnson as well, right? In the movie, I believe. I believe he was voiced by Don Johnson. Or was that
in the animated movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me hold on.
I believe it.
G.I. Joe. Let's see. G.I. Joe animated movie. All right, let's take a look here and see who that cast was. All right. I really wish it was going to be popping up here. Yeah, Don Johnson. Who did he? So we had top listed is Don Johnson, Burgess Meredith, of course, Sergeant Slaughter, and
Yeah.
Keen Holiday. Don Johnson. Okay, there's Low Light that you mentioned there. Let's see, narrator. Da 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 da. Good Lord, why are they? What kind of order are these people listed in? My God, what's happening here? Don Johnson, Lieutenant Falcon. Okay, he was Falcon, not Hawk. So he was Hawk's
Okay.
brother.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, that movie was a disappointment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I would love to see a serious take on G.I. Joe to capture some of that magic again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it can be done. So anyway, I thought that was
absolutely
a cool story.
I agree.
So another story brought up a couple weeks ago. They're doing a new Oceans movie from the Oceans 11, 12, 13, 8 series. And I felt, and they had announced the chief casting, which was Bradley Cooper and Margot Robbie. And I posited that this might be a period piece. And turns out that was true. And it looks like I'm going to get a double whammy for my pleasure because I love heist movies and I loved racing. And this movie is going to take place in 1962. And the heist takes place at the Formula One Grand Prix in Monaco in 1962. And the Bradley Cooper and Margot Robbie are going to be playing Daniel Ocean's parents. So obviously it runs in the family. The heistering runs in the family. And I just got to say, there's, as far as heists go in Monaco, there's really only two places. You got the Royal Palace, which would be interesting. And then right across from the Royal Palace, you've got the Grand Casino. Or maybe they're getting both. Huh. It is intriguing to me.
Or maybe they're making us think they're doing one while they're actually doing the other.
And there's no way this is not going to not take place during the race.
Oh, of course. Otherwise, you wouldn't even put it in that, frame it that way.
So it'll literally be right in the middle of a Sunday afternoon in Monte Carlo. And I'm assuming it's going to be the casino, but there's a lot to think about when you're planning a movie in that location because of what's there. And folks if you're not a racing fan and you don't know where Monaco is, if you watched Iron Man 2, that's where the race scene happened in Iron Man 2, where Tony took over the car and then got ambushed by Whiplash coming out of the swimming pool turn.
It is a tiny country, and I believe it is the wealthiest country per capita, based on its population. Like it's because it's all rich people.
Yeah, it is an absolute tax haven. Anybody can move there. You have to deposit $1 million in the Bank of Monaco. And then
I'll just need to get on my second bank account to get that transferred right over. Yeah.
And then you got to establish yourself. You'll never be a citizen. You will.
That's funny. Where they're like, "We'll take your money, but you're never gonna be a citizen."
It's a tax haven, so you'll never have to worry about paying taxes. But utilities are out the rear end because they're coming from southern France, and people that are native to Monaco pay nothing to live there. So you're also paying native monegasques, which is a great racket.
You have rich people coming in to subsidize the lives of rich people.
Yes.
And if you're born in Monaco, you were born rich. So you're born rich, and you have other rich people from around the world coming in to just subsidize your rich life while you are not having to pay for any of this stuff. So that you can continue to hold on to your wealth.
Native monegasques basically pay nothing. Education, healthcare, utilities, all paid by the non-natives, which is more. The entire country is 1.7 miles long. So, and they have a royal family, which is insane because I don't know how many people live there total population, but it can't be that much to have a royal family. So it's literally a Disney movie in that town. But yeah. So this movie is going to take place there. I'm excited. I'm excited about the cast. I wonder who else they're going to bring on board. They did bring some people on board. I don't know that dude's name. He's been in I'm never gonna get. He's been in so many movies that I like, and I never know his name. But I think Josh Gad is in it.
Oh, I did see
Got
the
cast as
announcement
one.
of Josh Gad. Yeah.
But there's a couple other people that I'm excited about. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to that movie. I hope it's a summer. Hope it's a summer movie, or maybe a winter one, which would be great. But
Yeah.
the other
When
thing.
you,
Oh,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, whenever
Sorry.
you first mentioned that, I was that they were making the movie, I was very apprehensive, especially given that George Clooney is not going to be involved. And I was like, well, how are you going to have an Ocean's movie without George Clooney? And that was when you had posited that the only way that you thought it could work was if it was a period piece. And like, if it's going to be a period piece and it's going to be Ocean's something, you got to
Yeah.
have an ocean, you know? So it only made sense for it to be Danny Ocean's dad. So yeah, once you put that out there as like this could work. If they did this, I was like, yeah, if they did that, then I
Yeah.
would not be concerned. Like that's a good setup, and you don't have to worry about recasting George Clooney's character or trying to find replacements for any of the other characters, because again, okay, Ocean's 11, 12, 13. I mean, these are a lot of people that you'd have to recast that are way older than they were when they did these.
Oh,
But
yeah.
here you get to still be in the universe. It makes sense. It's still an ocean. It's still a story that's going to be interesting, and you can have an entirely new cast of characters. So I'm intrigued, and if it does well, we can have more. We can do
Yeah.
sequels of these movies with Bradley Cooper and Margot Robbie. So I'm excited about this. I'm very happy to hear that it is in fact, as you had hoped, it is a period piece. It is Danny Ocean's dad. So I'm stoked. This is great. And the fact that it's F1, I mean, that is, like I said, it's like they read your diary.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So definitely, I'm all in on it. The cool thing is too, and I didn't even think about it till you just said it, is if they make more, there were so many high-profile heists in the 70s and 80s.
I'd love to see him tie in DB Cooper to some.
I was going to say DB Cooper was one. The other one was I'm going to get the name of the painting wrong. It's the Gathering Storm. It was like stolen from the Boston Museum during a Celtics game or something like that. Something crazy. And it's never been recovered. But that would be a cool one to do too. But anyway, the last movie one I had, it's actually my last real news story. But so the Dune 3, we got a new Dune 3 trailer, which I'm seeing a lot of feedback. They're like, this is not the way I thought this would go, which means you obviously did not read the books. And I've actually said this before on this show. Guys, this is not a good news story. This is not a happily ever after story. Frank Herbert never intended it to be that. It was how we industrialize to the point that we destroy our environment, and that absolute power corrupts absolutely.
This was Breaking Bad before Breaking Bad was a thing.
Yeah. So we're seeing Paul Atreides go full circle here. You know, he was the reluctant hero. He was the on his back foot Messiah. He builds his army. He takes down the big bad, and then eventually becomes the big bad. And you saw, like, they did not pull any punches in that trailer. We saw the beginning of a fracturing. We saw the beginnings of a fracturing between him and Chani.
Well, we actually saw the beginnings of that at the end of the second.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Even though she knew that kind of that worried me because it was unnecessary, because she knew that was coming. He had already told her he was going to do that, and so it kind of bugged me that she got pissy when he did it. Especially since it's a marriage of convenience, not of any kind of substance
passion
whatsoever. Yeah. And Irulan in the book, she got treated like shit after she married Paul. This new trailer features Robert Pattinson a lot more, his character, and Florence Pugh's character of Irulan a lot more than Paul in the trailer. So if you haven't seen the new trailer yet, make sure you watch it and see it. It's really good. But again, I don't know what your people are expecting, but it's not going to be what you think, and you need to prepare yourself for that. So it'll be great.
Yeah,
but terrible.
And for anybody that does want to read the books, I would recommend making it to book 3 and then stopping.
Yes,
they went on for a lot longer after that, and it went on to Frank Herbert's son and all this other stuff, but it should have it should have stayed a trilogy. Like that was a nice. I mean, there were long books, but I'll say
Yeah.
it's tight. It had a beginning, it had an end. It was a nice wrapped up story. And I think it just kind of lost its way. So if you do read the books and you get super into it, I would say just like how there are only 3 Indiana Jones movies and there's only 1 Matrix movie, I would say there's only 3 Dune books.
He said that with such authority as if that were true. The only thing that there's only one of is Highlander. But and I absolutely think that all 3 Matrix movies exist, and the Animatrix for that matter. So, and I'll go with 4 Indiana Jones movies, not 3, but less than 5. And that being said, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the movie. But again, I'm going in there and I know what happens, and I'm still excited to see it because it's still a fantastic story. And then, man, the only other thing I had for all of us music fans is a huge rest in peace to Bonnie Tyler, who sang the hit "Total Eclipse of the Heart" in 1983. She passed away at the age of 75 yesterday. So just, and I know that's hit a lot of people. It's hit even, I noticed in social media, it's hit even a lot of younger people. I know that song's been used a lot for memes on social media, on TikTok and whatnot. And then we had the best parody version of it in that Will Ferrell movie where he got married, and that I forgot that band's name, but they did an F-bomb version of Total Eclipse of the Heart that was mint.
It's my preferred version of that song,
but still paid serious homage to the original. And again, I remember Friday nights at the Village Inn Pizza Diner in Milton, West Virginia, and that song would get played on the jukebox, dude, 10, 12 times in 2 hours. So that one and freaking Rosanna by Toto.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all, dude. That's all I had.
All right. Well, I do not have anything to add to that. Do you have anything? Obviously, no more news stories. Any closing words?
I have watched the 3rd episode of House of the Dragon, and I can report that it has been equally as good as the rest of the show. There were some weird things in this one. There was a weird, awkward situation with a dragon and a little boy that I thought was...
You may need to give a little bit more context to that statement.
Well, a prince that was living as a ward with one house with his dragon, and the dragon didn't seem to know him. So it was kind of weird. I'll leave it at that.
That's much better than saying, there was a weird thing between a dragon and a little boy.
Okay, fair enough. And then for anybody that's wondering, yes, those were cars. When Damon was talking and there was a dragon on the field, and between the dragon's wing and his body, you saw 2 cars pass by on the road. That was a bad edit. We get it.
How many coffee cups do we have to see in the Game of Thrones universe? We got coffee cups, we got cars,
water bottles, cars.
What is happening, man? I thought we were better than this. How does nobody, while you're filming that scene, how does nobody go like, hey, did anybody else see those cars that just drove by, and be like, okay,
or hear them?
Let's mark that down so that we know to cut that later.
I gotta tell you, those cars couldn't have been further away than 100 yards. I don't know how they didn't hear them. And the weird thing is, I wouldn't have saw them.
Also, there's not a dragon there. They had a clear line of sight.
I wouldn't have even saw them had I not been. There was a piece of buckling on Damon's armor that had blood on it, but he hadn't fought yet. So I was like, is it just leftovers from a previous battle? I can't see him coming to a
and then all of a sudden, the Ford Bronco.
Yeah, and then woohoo! But anyway, the show's been fantastic. No matter which side of the Civil War you're on, whether it be the blacks or the greens, I wish you good fortune in the wars to come is all I can say, but I can't promise you nothing because I've already read it. But anyway, that's all I had.
I don't have anything other than thank you guys. Appreciate your patience with us as we continue on and work through all the stuff. But we will see you next week for episode 77, where we will have played the at least some of Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, and we can give some genuine first-hand impressions and our thoughts. But we will see you then, episode 78. And yeah, till then, take care, play Blueprints.
I must speak to you adieu.